Okay, so I guess what I'm saying is, what I'm asking you is, I'm trying to ask you, what is your idea beyond the word flat, right? That's what I'm saying by shape. Beyond the word flat, what is your idea of how it looks like if you were to zoom way out and look at it?
Oh, well, you know what? Here, you know what? You're in luck because me and God are homies. So I'm just going to go to God's house, and then I can look out the view from his house and I can see the whole earth. And then I'll tell you, oh, wait, I can't do that.
So you have no idea?
What?
That's
How
okay if
could I
you don't have an
possibly
idea.
have
I'm
an
just
idea? No,
asking.
think about it. How could I possibly have an idea? Like, what reference do I have to be able to give you an idea?
Well, we have images of the planet Earth taken from outer space. Okay, that would be one
Oh,
idea.
I see. I see. I see. You need some spacecraft to image the flat Earth, and then when you look at this image, which can't be prima facie proof in any scientific journal anyway, no scientific journal accepts a photo as prima facie proof of a thing. It needs corroborating evidence. But let's just say I had a photo that I claimed was from outer space of a flat Earth. That would convince you of the overall shape.
I mean, sure, I guess, but I mean, my point
Hey,
is,
how
if
many spacecraft? How
it,
many
it, it,
spacecraft in the history of spacecraftery have been far enough away from the Earth to even see the alleged entire Earth?
to see the entire Earth, well, you can only see some sides of the Earth because it's in three-dimensional space, unless
Okay,
you were
so
to
how
conglomerate them all
many were
together.
able to see the entire alleged full circle of the Earth facing them? How many?
I don't know, but quite a few.
Really, quite a few. That's interesting. How many people saw it with their own eyes in the history of mankind, excluding religious texts?
More than zero.
Really? Well, that's a claim, but how many?
I'd have to look it up. I don't know how many, what the number is,
Less
but
than
it's more.
40.
But the number is
The answer is
greater
less than
than
40.
zero, and I can say that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
I
less
agree with
than
you that
40.
there's a claim. I agree with you that there's a claim that they saw the Earth in totality with their own eyes. Yeah, that's a claim. But only 40 people, less than 40, have even been able to make such a claim, allegedly.
So, all right. So they've made the claim, and you're saying it's a claim because you don't think it's true, or because you think you just don't have enough evidence to believe it's true? Would you say that you're
No, because
confident that it's
it
not
is
true?
a claim, dude. Like if somebody says I went far away from the Earth and I saw the Earth as flat, that would be a claim. If somebody said I went far away from the Earth and I saw the Earth as a triangle, that would be flat. If somebody said I went far away from the Earth and I saw the Earth as a globe, that would also be a claim. They're all claims.
Are the photographs claims?
No, I already told you the photographs aren't prima facie evidence on themselves.
What is
But
I
it
don't know what
depends
that
on what you
means.
mean by photograph. Yeah, if I show you
Image.
a photograph of Bigfoot, you're not going to believe it, dude. Okay. Well, let's be clear here. You're not going to accept photographs as just on its face evidence of any particular thing per se. You're going to have different biases and different rules that you apply to different imagery and different alleged photographs.
Okay, so let's assume. So let me believe that the photographs are fake, or don't accurately depict the reality of the shape of the Earth. What is the alternative?
What do you mean alternative? Like alternative to what?
I mean, what is
Alternative to
the alternative?
photographs?
The primary right now, the primary amongst the world is that
The
it is a
primary. That's an
globe.
interesting way
All
of
right,
putting it.
primary thought,
Okay, yeah.
the
So I would agree
dominant,
with you
the
that
dominant
I would
thought
agree with
is
you
globe.
that Yeah, I would agree with you that the globe is a pervasive belief among humans that are alive today. Okay, does a pervasive belief being held by many people mean it's true? The answer is no.
So that's what I mean by alternative. I mean, that's the dominant thought. So then what is the alternative?
Why does there need to be an
The
alternative?
al- well, because if there isn't an
Yeah, look,
alternative,
look, I know you
then
laugh at
the
it. I know
truth
you
is that
laugh
it's a
at it,
globe.
but just think about the logic. If a whole bunch of people are wrong about something, does that mean that to prove them wrong, you have to offer them something in exchange, or can you just prove that they're wrong?
The point
The
is
answer
the
is you could just
globe
prove that they're
model
wrong.
is
That's
a
the actual answer, in
mathematical
case you didn't
model, and
know.
we use that model to make predictions, but the flat Earth model
Great.
does
Okay.
not
So
have the
right.
same
So right.
level of
So if you say it's
predictive
a
accuracy.
mathematical model, right? If you say it's a mathematical model that has utility, therefore it's true, that'd be a reification fallacy.
Why is it? Why? What does that? I don't know what that means.
Okay, you can model many different things in many different ways. You can have multiple models for the same data. It doesn't mean each individual model has an underlying truth of reality to it. To say it does just because it has utility, you're committing a reification fallacy and a utilitarian fallacy. So a model
I
doesn't
don't
prove
know.
anything.
I don't know. I still don't know what reification means. But my
Okay, a
point
model
is
is a concept. A model is a conceptual abstraction. Okay, it's
right.
not the real
So
thing,
do you?
right? So if you
And you're
say the
saying
model is
that?
the real thing, that's reification. It means you're
Oh,
realizing something out of thin
got
air.
it. Okay. No, I'm not saying it's the real thing. I'm saying it has more predictive accuracy.
What
If it
to
has
what
more
end?
predictive,
What does it predict? What does it
if it
predict
has
so
more,
predicty wise?
if it has more predictive accuracy, and the flat
I
Earth
could care
model
less. What does it predict?
has
What does it
less
predict?
orbitals,
Orbitals? What does that even mean, dude?
orbital trajectory of bodies launched from
Dude, you
another
could
orbital
predict
body.
orbital trajectories of bodies with epicycles. Don't need a globe Earth at all.
No, I don't know what that means.
Well, yeah, in case you didn't know,
I don't know how you.
back in the day when people were making models of the cosmological objects, they were making kinematic models, right? So there was no need to describe any forces. They just made observations about how they saw them move, and they made different models based on the movements. You know, they made all different kinds, and they were all sufficient in describing the kinematics. So the underlying truth of these models, right, if they were each all true simultaneously, that'd be a contradiction. So to pick one over the other is just a preferential bias.
To pick all of them and say that all of them are true, or is what?
There would be contradictions because the underlying geometry of each one can't, if they alter from each other, can't all be true. In case you didn't know, a lot of these guys had competing models. They even had arguments, debates. There's books written about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of literature. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, so there's a model, right, that you claim predicts things that aren't the Earth. So think about it. This model predicts things that aren't the Earth, but the underlying claim is that the Earth has to be a particular shape in order for this model to work. So if you say this model has great predictive power and the underlying core is that the Earth is a globe, well then it must predict that the Earth's surface is curved. And if you go out and you measure that the Earth's surface is not curved, then your whole model is wrong.
Okay,
And since we know
I'm reading your
models,
Wiki.
well, real quick, since we know models are not necessarily reality, right? It only takes one thing to prove the entire model wrong. Go ahead.
I'm reading your reification Wikipedia that you shared, and I don't. So, and just to clarify, I'm not saying a model is reality. What I had said was that it has very good predictive power, more
Right,
predictive.
right. So if you right, so imagine what you
More
just said. If you model the cosmos in relationship to a globe Earth, I can make predictions, but I'm not
uh-huh.
saying the globe Earth is real.
Well, you're not. Yeah. Okay.
No, no, you wouldn't be either. You wouldn't be either because in order to avoid a reification fallacy, you can't say I'm modeling the Earth as a globe. It has predictive power, therefore the globe Earth is real, because then you'd be committing the fallacy. So to avoid that, you have to say I'm simply modeling this phenomenon with the Earth as a globe, and it has predictive power.
Okay.
And whether the
All right.
Earth is really a globe or not is separate answer.
Okay. That's fair. Now, do you think that it's possible for the conclusion to be correct while using classic classically illogical means? And by classical illogical, I mean you using a fallacy.
Okay, what? Say one more time. I had to smack somebody in the text chat.
Uh, okay. Um, it's possible to have a correct reason with incorrect
Yeah, that's
reasonings
true.
in
Yep.
accordance with classical
Yeah, I would agree
logic,
with you.
right?
Yeah,
Classical
I agree
lo
with you.
so pointing out fallacies is it can be good, right? I'm not saying it's completely
No,
terrible,
I'm just saying
but
that
it doesn't
what I'm
al
pointing out is that the utility of a model doesn't prove the underlying facts of the claims of the model when it talks about reality to be true. And that is true. And that is relevant because a lot of people attempt to prove the globe by presenting models. And so that doesn't prove the globe in itself.
I mean, but it makes it very hard to deny it in my personal experience. It
Well,
makes
I
it
mean,
very
that's
hard to say,
great. But
well,
the easiest way to deny it is the underlying core of the globe model is that the Earth must be a ball, which must have curvature. And you can just go test for the curvature, find out it's not there, and then the whole claim falls apart immediately and in totality from the ground up.
okay, and what is this curvature test?
Oh, that's simple. So if the Earth is curved, the water's curved. The water's the gold standard of level. Level is either curved or it's horizontal and flat. So you just measure it, and if it's not curved, ergo it's horizontal and flat. It's 70% of the known territory to which the elevation profiles, the peaks and the troughs, are measured. We end up with 190 million alleged square miles covered by 70% flat level water. Therefore, you end up with all the elevation profiles between two horizontal parallel planes with a swing of 15 miles. That makes the Earth flatter than a piece of paper.
Okay, so
Yeah,
again,
190,
you
yeah,
just again, you
190
just said
million square miles with a peak trough differential on the mean of 15 miles. That's literally in a flatness index flatter than a standard piece of paper, in case you didn't know.
okay, well, it depends. Okay, alright, that's
There's no
fine.
depends about it. That's how the geometry works out.
Where do I you put some links in? I'd like to oh, wait, is this it? Are you Dr. Copatine or are you someone else? What is your name?
No, that's
Oh,
just my
AI
crew.
Overlord. Okay.
Yeah, we roll together. We help each other out. So like I'm busy doing things, so he's posting. So there's
Oh, no,
not just
that's
one
all good.
test. There's
That's
many,
all good.
many, many tests demonstrating that the water isn't curved.
Oh, okay. Alright. Well, I mean,
For example, the Dr. John D channel there, Dr. John D was a PhD level physicist specializing in optics. He came upon the idea the Earth is flat, and he said, "You know what? I'm an expert. I'm going to go out and I'm going to measure the Earth with dual laser setups, so I can mitigate certain factors." And then, based on his own expertise, he came to the conclusion: every time I do these tests, there's no curvature showing up.
mhm,
And he
okay.
was forced to conclude, but you can watch his videos and you'll see his journey. He was forced to conclude there's no hump of Earth curve in between point
Mhm.
A and point B when I'm shooting my lasers. Earth cannot be a globe.
YouTube.
At this
YouTube,
point in
YouTube,
time, there's
YouTube,
hundreds of laser
YouTube,
tests
it it
demonstrating this, and hundreds
try
upon hundreds of observations demonstrating the same.
is there papers I can look at instead of videos? Because I don't mind gonna watch a video while I'm trying to listen and talk. Oh, here's one. Experiment.
That PDF goes with the last video that was posted. Decimal Z one.
Terrestrial laser targeting. Okay.
Yeah, even recently, the government commissioned a test to be done in the Hawaiian Islands that disproved the alleged globe assumptions. Then they did a new one recently, which we are currently researching. We're to start talking about here in the near future, which wrecks the globe even harder.
Oh, okay. Exciting.
Yeah, they did it. They did a dual. They did so the concept of why there's this claim out there. Light obviously has certain amount of variable pathness through media, right? And so there's this claim out there that no
Diffraction.
observation could debunk the globe because the light always curves to follow the Earth perfectly, and that's an assumption. But the tests of this claim actually show that's not true. And it's getting worse for the globe as the time goes on, because the more and more tests are done and the more facts come out, the more and more people can appeal to nebulous models, and nebulous claims are just getting thrown in the garbage can.
What do you think about people that have, well, I use the word that you use, claim to have flown around the Earth?
Could care less. They're not high enough to see the whole Earth. As far as they know, they're just traveling from one location to another and then interpolating in their mind a mental model of how far they came or where they came from. Okay, like I said before, there's only
All right.
40 people, less than 40 people, who have any firsthand knowledge of the Earth as a globe. Period. Everybody else is interpreting at best.
Well, what I'm saying is, like, if you circumnavigate it, right, that means you start at one point and you go in a
Yes, but
linear straight
nobody
line, and you end up in
circumnavigates
it,
the Earth. Yeah, but nobody
and you
circumnavigates the Earth in a straight line and arrives back where they started. It's never
and you
happened.
end up where you started.
Never happened. All circumnavigations are east to west around a center point, which is essentially a circle. I could do that at my house. I could go out my front door and circumnavigate a point on my living room and end up at the back door. That doesn't mean my house is a globe. Now, if I went up my roof and then down the side of my building and then under my basement and then arrived back at my front door, maybe you'd have a case. But guess what? When it comes to the Earth, nobody has ever taken a circumpolar north to south course on a single pathway and arrived back where they started. It's never happened. So there's no circumnavigation
Oh,
that proves
okay.
the Earth is a globe.
All right. So, but if someone did do that, would you then go, "Oh, maybe it's not flat"?
Well, I could put it in the maybe category, but I could just use affirming the consequent with the best of them.
What?
So
I don't know.
I could just say the Earth is clearly flat because there's no measurable curvature on the surface. And then when you go to the south, you just teleport back to the north. And I know that's true because there's no measurable curvature on the surface. And when you travel south, you arrive back north. How could you
You
possibly
tele
disprove me?
you teleport? Is that what you said?
Well, yeah. Think
Did I
about it. It's
understand
just
that
affirming the
correctly?
consequent, dude. You know, it's logic. You know, it's just called affirming the consequent.
Well, you said if you go east west, then it doesn't prove anything. But
Yeah.
if you
Well,
go
don't you
north
believe in
south,
teleporting? Hey, listen, friend, don't you believe in teleporting?
if you go north south, no one has done that yet. And then now what you're telling me is that if they do go north south, that won't change any of your opinion whatsoever. So it doesn't matter whether they go east south or northwest, north south or east
No, no,
west. Is that
no, I
not
didn't say
accurate?
that. I didn't
Okay.
say that, did I?
All right.
You said, would that give you the possibility? And I said, yes. However, that wouldn't change the fact that the surface isn't curving. Okay, so in case you didn't know, what you actually need to provide is direct measurements of surface curvature, not
Well, I'm not
somebody
here to
traveling
debunk
in a direction
anything,
and
and
arriving
I'm just
back where
here
they
to have a
started.
conversation.
I know, but I'm just telling you, like, the categorical necessity to prove the proposition requires direct surface curvature, not traveling in a direction and arriving back where you started. Now, don't get me wrong, that'd be a good start because many people who come in here say the Earth is a globe because people circumnavigate, therefore the Earth is a globe. And it's not true that circumnavigation is exclusive to a globe Earth. And the course that they think they need to prove that the Earth is a globe has never been done in human history. So, how about we get that course done first and then we can start talking about it?
What course?
Oh, a course which is actually a true circumnavigation, circumpolar north to south.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Now there are alleged listen, don't get me
What?
wrong, there are alleged circumpolar north to south, but if you actually look at the course they took, they go down to the south, then they skirt over, and then they go back to the north. They don't actually go up and under the earth and then come around the other side.
I'm not sure who
That
posted this, but who posted this PDF. I've been reading it, and it's pretty long. I don't know what the I honestly don't know what the function of it is, but here's
That
a sentence in the
that
PDF that got posted.
PDF, Joseph, that PDF accompanies the video that's directly above it. So some people prefer documentation, some people are happy to watch a video. You put both there, it covers all loves and likes.
Okay. So one of the sentences in that PDF is the radius of the Earth is 6,366.776 kilometers at 46.911702 latitude on the WGS 84 ellipsoid model and 6,366.75 km at the 46.982097. The measurement direction,
Right.
whatever, bunch of math. The calculated difference of curvature drop on a spherical model is 0.046 millimeters. Okay. All right. What does any of that mean?
Oh, well, if you read the preface of the whole paper, you'd know that they're intending to go out and test the accuracy of the WGS 84 model. Okay. So the
Okay.
WGS 84 model is an ellipsoid model of which they take real world data and then they use mathematical transforms to conform it to a model of the Earth as an ellipsoid, which exists in a model. So when they say a radius of this and a drop of this, they're referring to the claims of the model.
Okay. And it also says the main principles of this experiment are to study the effects of terrestrial refraction. Okay, and the amount of ambient conditions at very small incidence angles close to the non-uniform. I don't know what the heck that is. Non-uniform density transition zone above water surfaces.
Well, yeah. So
Determine the
so the
shape of
air
the
above
surface.
water, yeah, the air above water is kind of like different than the air 20 feet above water and 30 feet above water, right?
The marine layer. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and it's definitely different, like lake effect snow, all these, like over water, the air is a little bit different than over land for various reasons, which include the water becoming part of the air faster than if it was on land. That the fact that the water holds temperature through the night different than land, et cetera, et cetera. But the main reason, my friend, is because the water represents a surface that would be adhering to the equipotential of the gravitational alleged conformity of the Earth's surface to a ball shape, right? So, in other words, a piece of land could have hills and even caves and all of this, but water generally on the surface is going to be level, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're not going to have a lake where the lake hits the shore, but in the center of the lake there's like a 30-foot mountain of water just sticking up like a pimple. Yeah, so they did multiple shots and tests at different locations, culminating in their biggest one, which was done at Lake Idsel in the Netherlands at 25-mile range. I think they did 17 in total. Yeah, but Josephat, bro, I had to get rid of that J kid because he basically was, from best I could surmise, with the limited time, basically straw manning flat Earth arguments. So I didn't have the time to vet him properly. But we don't just let people fill up our airtime acting like they represent flat Earthers with a bunch of nonsense rhetoric.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah, sure.
So no flat Earther who is sincere says that the Earth isn't flat because it's not platonically, idealistically a concept. I mean, good grief, dude.
I mean, like you said, like you can say it's a straw man. That's fair. But yeah, there's I don't know how many flat Earth people there are out there. There's quite a number of them, and you would find if you were to poll 100% of them, you would find a variety of beliefs. But
Oh, absolutely.
straw man to
But see,
say
we
that.
got we got we got trolls that follow us around. Um, one of the groups is called the Bevites, and they just like to join our chats when none of our main piece speakers are around, and just like to talk crap. And we've dealt with them for years. kind of annoying. So if I get a whiff of the Bevite rhetoric, I very quickly eat that person until they prove themselves otherwise, because I ain't got time to have people who don't represent. See, our group isn't just quote unquote flat earthers per se, in the sense that any flat earther can come in here and just say whatever they want unchallenged. This isn't an open forum for freedom of speech for flat earthers, okay? It's scrutinized, critiqued, and curated. And nobody gets to just talk smack without being challenged just because they're allegedly a flat earther. We've had flat earthers infiltrate our main server and pretend to be flat earthers for years, gain the trust of certain people. Then turns out they were just globers trying to get rank in our server so they could sabotage us.
When
In
you say
fact, I just banned that
sabotage,
kid again today. He came into this channel talking smack.
when you say
Nihilistic.
sabotage, when you say
Go ahead.
sabotage, what does that mean? You mean they're trying to uh, do server attacks, like DDoS your server, or they just mean that
No, no,
they
they might
verbally
get to a
attack?
point. They might get to a point where they can access certain things at a higher level in the server, and then like do logistical things like ban a bunch of people or dox people, or just whatever their sick, twisted mind can come up with, dude. We've had globers. Okay, listen, let me tell you what we've had globers do. We've had globers call the licensing board of people's work to try to get their licenses pulled based on the fact that they're not a glober, and therefore their flat earth beliefs would influence the safety of their ability to do their job, and they could get people killed, so we need their license pulled. And then calling their employer, trying to get them fired from their jobs. We've had globers make a secret pact with each other to bet that they could convert a flat earther, and some of them decided to do a romantic gambit to where they would start to become romantically involved with flat earth women in an attempt that the romance would help sway the woman to change back to the globe so they could win the bet. So we have the gamut of sick and twisted globe zealots and flat earth religitards like the Bevites try to sabotage our endeavors here.
I never
It's
heard of
quite
it. I never heard of some of those people that you just mentioned, the Bevitites. But yeah, that does
Bevites.
sound
They're a menace,
kind
dude.
of hassle
Like
for you to deal
when
with.
we say water is flat and level. Oh, but when you go to the ocean, there's waves. It can't be flat and level if there's waves. That's the.
And
Hopefully, I did that well.
That's pretty good impression, actually.
I've spent a lot of time on the water. I work on the. I sometimes go on the boat for 6 to 9 months, or 10 months, or sometimes longer. It's pretty. It's pretty. Yeah. It's pretty.
Flat. What's
Pretty
the
much
word you're
looks
looking
like
for?
glass. It just looks like glass. When it's calm, it looks like glass. When it's rough, it looks kind of like an oil painting. It's got
Yeah,
the.
yeah, yeah. And you know what's crazy is sometimes when you go to big bodies of water and they're very still, you get perfect reflections, especially in places like salt flats, like the Salar del Uyuni, and I think is that in Brazil? Anyway, wherever it is, it fills up with an inch of rain, and it becomes a perfect mirror, and you can see the sky and the mountain ranges perfectly reflected on the surface. Now, if you know anything about reflections, they follow a law called the law of reflection. The angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection, which means to get a perfect reflection, you need a flat surface. So just looking out over this giant mirror with a flat reflection underneath it shows you that that giant mirror expanse is flat.
Um, I don't know what to say about that. I haven't heard that before. That's something to think about. I will say that's something to think about. I think some of the earliest, and so maybe you can discuss this a little bit. Maybe I think some of the earliest experiments or math that was done about geology and the shape or the curvatures or the lack of curvatures have been done using shadows and the angles of shadows. I don't know much more than that, but
Well, to be fair, the men who did these alleged angle shadows already believed the Earth was a globe. They weren't trying to prove the Earth was curved. So those
And
things aren't measuring Earth's
okay,
curvature at all.
okay, and then those things were repeated or improved. I mean, those. So they did it with incorrect assumptions, is what you're saying, and then they did it with bad faith assumptions. Well, when those were repeated, they were then showed the opposite.
No, no, if you say the differential angle that I measure in the shadows are equivalent to measuring the curve of the Earth, right? You're inferring that they're measuring the curve of the Earth. The only thing you're actually measuring is shadow angles.
Um, okay, what? Yeah, okay, all right. What is the shadow angle? What what
It,
what
it,
produces what produces a shadow angle? What are the factors of a shadow angle? And look here, I'm not a mathematician, so I'm not gonna
well,
go
the only thing that can
off that.
produce a shadow is a light source being interrupted, right?
That's true. Yeah,
And so the
yeah.
angle of the shadow is going to depend on the arrival angle, the local arrival angle of the light at the stick's interface, right? And that's the only thing you can truly know. So you have to interpret from the local all the way out to the non-local, and then though that carries a bunch of assumptions in there. So, for example, the same guy who posted the Decimal Z um, documentary, he has another thing called where he basically proves that his desktop table is a globe by taking a differential media above the table, then taking a light above that media, and then splaying the light out over his table, and then getting differential measurements of shadows, then using the same formulas that they assumed in the Eratosthenes style sticks and shadows tests. And then he calculates his table to be a globe. And he also shows that you can't actually reverse calculate the location of his lamp because of the differential media. So you have to have
Mm,
all these assumptions before you know what you're really working with.
yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, friend. Some of these assumptions are not unreasonable. It's not like they're crazy. It's not like somebody just thought of this and they're like, "Wow, that's just totally wackadoodle." I mean, some of them have good reasoning, but they just don't carry the conclusion necessarily, and they certainly don't prove it necessarily.
Mhm. Okay. Well, so you said this before, and I know that other people. What's his name? Jen. I was talking to him this morning. He mentioned basically, and you mentioned the same thing. Basically, that well, I can say that something is not true and have no alternative explanation. So, and you're right. You can do. You're free to do that. You don't have to offer an alternative explanation. There's no reason that you don't. However, some of the biggest conceptual problems that I have with flat Earth theory are related to what I have heard, and so I don't know if this is the opinion of this server or not, or this server members, but it seems like there has been some different kind of ideas about other than Earth planetary bodies that to me don't make any sense when it's put against uh, put against the physics of, for example, solar physics and how much energy is required to create nuclear fission inside of the sun. Fusion, sorry, nuclear fusion. You need a
Well,
lot of
that's
energy.
assuming
You
it's
need a lot of
nuclear
energy.
fusion in the first place.
A lot of well, okay, that's a different claim. Okay, but just saying it requires a lot. Just saying it requires a lot of mass. It requires a lot of energy for to have the energy requires a lot of mass. All right. Boom. There we go. Some of the claims that I've heard are that the sun is very close to the earth and that it just kind of circles over the top. And so for me I have a hard time looking at that and going, yeah, certainly it's not 8 light minutes away.
Well,
It's actually
wait a minute, dude, wait a minute. Can't you do nuclear fusion on the Earth
yeah,
in a lab?
theoretically
No, I'm
nuclear
pretty sure they've done it, dude. I'm pretty sure they've done it, Holmes.
theoretically, I think maybe there has been some limited success with nuclear fusion, right? But that doesn't mean that it doesn't require a massive amount of energy. and on the
Right,
scale.
but if you're doing it on Earth, think about it this way: if they're doing it on Earth, it doesn't require a sun-based amount of energy, because if it's able to be accomplished on Earth, then it only requires an Earth-based amount of energy.
An Earth-based amount of it. No, at the scale, because at CERN and the at the particle accelerators, they use very very tiny pieces of particles and they accelerate them very very quick, so the energy
Right, so you do it right. So you create a
is
setup where the
less.
initiation of the energy is effectuated by direct sentient agent causation, correct? So in other words, a
Wow.
sentient agent is interfering with naturalistic processes, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, there you
It's
go.
a
There's the answer. So
artificial.
the sun doesn't have to be a naturalistic process. It could have been interfered with by a sentient agent, and then all your assumptions can just go in the garbage can.
It could have been, but do you think that's, in your opinion, do you think that's more likely?
Absolutely. No, that's not only more likely, that's the truth. That the
Okay.
universe was created by a sentient agent who particularly set it up in a way by design to do the things that it does. And so the idea that everything must be naturalistic processes alone is just laughable.
Oh, oh, okay. So, oh, wait, hang on. So, uh, naturalistic doesn't have to be naturalistic processes. I'm not sure what the
Nope.
question I'm trying to ask is, but I guess what I'm trying to ask is, so it was so just trying to understand the position. There is a deity, if you want to use that word, that set up the universe. And so, are you saying that the deity then set up some processes to kind of what's the word, artificialize them, like it's like
Oh, no, no,
specifically
no, dude,
designed.
dude. Yeah, but you think this is a connotation of the word artificial. I mean,
Well,
it depends on what you
just
mean
ask
by
them
that,
exactly what.
because you're assuming that things should be natural, and for them to be artificial, there's something wrong with that. What if things that you assume are natural were always artificial?
No, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with it, but I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with artificial, except for in the sense of, which is completely separate topic. But I mean, there are some things that are artificial that are bad to consume, for example, for your
Sure.
body. That, but I don't mean there's anything morally wrong with it. What I'm trying to figure out. I mean, we can just go back. We can go back to the sun because we didn't fully get to where I was going. Which
Well,
you were kind
well,
of
let me
getting there,
throw
but
this word out. Let me
we
throw this
skipped.
word out for you. So you have the terrestrial, right, which is our local Earth, and then you have the celestials, which is everything that's not the Earth. And for the majority of human history, people thought of those as being two different realms. And then a certain time, people synergize the realms and says, no, everything must be the same, as above, so below. Uniformitarian assumption of physics, rules, the way things happen, everything. And so they started having to explain everything in the sky based on everything they understood on the earth. Now, that, my friend, is philosophy. There's no empirical necessity or scientific necessity that everything you see in the cosmos must behave according to the same rules that happen in the local. That's just philosophy.
All right. Well, that essentially was what I was trying to ask you. Is that, do you think there was two different sets of rules? And I guess I wasn't going to ask it because I thought it would be ridiculous to ask that question. But you've answered the question.
Yeah, it's a very pertinent question, because let me explain it. It's very simple. The assumption of uniformitarianism and retroactive uniformitarianism is how a lot of misconceptions in the alleged sciences happen, because they have a
okay.
philosophy that they're adhering to. They're not naturally following the evidence where it leads. They're constructing the apparatus to investigate the evidence to lead to conclusions that are consistent with the materialistic uniformitarian assumptions. And I have numerous quotes from scientists and people in the building of the heliocentric model who admitted that with their own words, and sometimes in writing, and sometimes out of their own mouth hole.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the quotes are that you're referring to, and but I would say that a lot of those guys are. I mean, it's true that there's a lot of unknowns, and I think that people that are up there in physics and high in the bleeding edge of what you would call the bleeding edge of physics or
Storytelling?
astrophysics,
Yeah, on the
whatnot, are
bleeding edge of storytelling. Listen,
um
Fred, I'm going to make it very blunt for you. What they are on the bleeding edge of is telling stories about things they can't possibly know.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
the
I mean,
fact. That's a cold,
all
hard
right.
fact, bro. That a lot of people have to face is that these alleged scientists who they think are just dispassionate researchers and doing actual tests and actual real world experiments on stuff, the majority of what they do is make up stories that they have no idea what the heck they're talking about.
Well, I like when you start talking about like quantum things, quantum physics. I know that there is a lot of contradictions, right? So they see those contradictions, and a lot of times they'll make statements about them, and I think that's just an indication of their
You mean
transparency.
stories about them? You mean stories about
I mean, I no, I wouldn't use the word story. I don't use the word story when talking about flat Earth. I just say that that's your theory or something. So you don't have to disparage my belief.
No, 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 dude. When somebody tells you that the present water that exists in the here and now, that's tangibly accessible to the human, that can be directly measured through empirical methods, is flat. That is a different story than saying the reason why it's flat is because it got farted out of a big bang in the past, and for some reason it went through this cosmic slice grinder that shaved it into a unidimensional platonic ideal that farted out the end of a concept because there's only one electron in the universe. See the difference?
Not really. No.
Holy, so you don't know the difference between an empirical test of an object versus a story about how the object got that way. Wow, dude. That's painful to listen to.
Well, let me try to understand what you're saying. On the one hand, you're saying the sum total of current general general consensus, general dominant thought of science. The sum total sort of big theories about how the universe came to be, or what the Earth looks like, or what happens in space, and what happens in black holes and supernovae, and so on. You're saying juxtapose that against a simple experiment. That's what you're saying? Sure, there's a difference. There's a difference between simplistic experiments and the sum total of Homo sapiens have been around, according to
Dude,
geologists and
you're
so
you're
on,
glorifying
for
these
about four.
endeavors as if they actually did science along the way before they told you these stories about black holes, dude. Like I'm getting things in my feed all the time that this guy has this interpretation of black hole works, this guy has this interpretation. There's new stories about what black holes do day in and day out, dude. Some of them even say black holes don't exist. Some of them say that black holes actually have to have all the mass of the universe or zero mass. I mean, there is no, dude, real truth about a black hole, dude. It's all stories.
Well,
Every
no,
single thing they talk about black holes are stories, dude. Not one shred of truth in any of it.
I tend to empathize with that statement in that yes, it is true that there's a lot of competing theories, and yeah, it's true that we don't know completely. But I tend to take I tend to take a similar stance,
Hey,
but
go,
it's a
go ahead
little
and
bit
go
different.
ahead and give me one. Go ahead and give me one fact about a black hole. That's a demonstrable fact. Go ahead if you can.
Okay? There's no light that escapes a black hole. You
How
cannot
do
you
you know
can
there's light in the first place?
you cannot see it
Okay.
because the
Oh,
light
so
does not.
basically a black hole, right? So basically, what a black hole is a dark spot in the cosmos. Wow. So that's one
that
fact.
you can't
It's
see.
dark.
What?
Yeah,
Say
so
that
you
again.
can't see something. You can't see something in the cosmos. Okay, let's agree that if you look out in the cosmos, you see lots of lights in different directions. Then this one area that you look, there's no lights. So now that there's nothing there to see, the absence of something, you're going to start inferring the presence of something. So now it's true that let's say in that zone there's no light to see. What does that mean exactly? Because that would let's say that's a fact. Now, what does that mean exactly?
Are you saying what does what mean exactly? Sorry.
There's a dark spot when you're scanning the cosmos, and
Uh-huh.
you say, oh, this way I see light, that way I see light, this way I see
Yeah.
light, but when I look this direction, I see a dark
Yeah.
spot. Now
Okay.
let's say that's
Uh-huh.
true. When I look this direction, dark spot. So now
Yeah.
what stories are going to be told about that dark spot?
Yeah. So well, in order for you to say that that dark spot is a black hole, there has to be a little bit more to it than just simply there is a
Like what?
black spot, because there are a
Okay,
lot
what
of
other
things.
things?
things, other planetary body, they make predictions, right? We use predictive modeling, and they can see predictions.
Other
And they go, okay,
planetary bodies.
there should be X amount of mass at this location. They can
Why?
approximate. There should be this much. Like I said, I'm not a scientist, but I am aware of the theories, and we can Google. I
So
can
Do they
Google
have
them.
mass? Do they have mass
I can
meters or
Google them.
something? They point up at the sky and it tells them how much mass is there.
No, it's gravity and orbital mechanics, a little bit
Holy
based on
Yeah, do
crap.
you know what's
how
one of
planets
the
orbit.
On everything. You
right?
poured syrup on the fucking pancakes, dude.
Pancakes. What? Could you say that again?
Yeah, you're
He
just
he said
pouring
you're
syrup
glossing
on
it
the
up. You're
pancakes,
glossing
dude.
it up.
You're just adding more and more to the top of your stack of your claims.
Uh, okay. All
Here,
right.
I'll just preempt you with my story. So the black hole is actually a Type 7 civilization. It's not a gravity hole with a star imploded and then created a massive mass that sucks everything into it. It's just a Type 7 civilization, which is using all the energy of their solar system. And so nothing is leaving. There you go, problem solved. Now prove my story wrong. Oh wait, you can't. That's right. I forgot. You can't prove it wrong.
Okay, but
So whose story is
that's
bad? Whose story is the best?
that's a little bit more ridiculous than to say
No, I
that it's
like
a
the people story. I like the invisible people that are
It's
holding
only
all the light
ridiculous
back
because
story.
it's only ridiculous because it's repugnant to your presuppositional biases, dude. That's the only reason why it's ridiculous.
repugnant to my presuppositional biases. What are my
Yeah.
presuppositional
You
biases?
find it incredulous. In other words, you can't believe that it's a Type 7 civilization because you're so infected with the story you've been told that you don't like my story. You like your version
No,
of the
no, I think
story and you don't like
no,
my version of the story.
no. Here's why I don't think it's a seventh. What did you call it?
Well,
Seventh
let me tell you, bro,
tier.
it's not my version of the story. I just am quoting a physicist who said that that's a possibility.
Right. Okay. Well, that version that you mentioned, seven tiers civilization. Well, here's why I don't like that idea, because
Oh, here's why you don't like it. Finally, you're starting to get it.
it requires way more explanation than does a black hole.
No, it doesn't.
You have to explain
It requires very little explanation. Here's how simple the explanation is. Pay attention. It's so simple. The society advanced beyond the energy levels of taking hold of the energy of their whole planet, then the energy of their whole host star. They essentially built a giant CERN ring around their entire solar system.
yes,
Just
but
like we're progressing, it's like we're progressing, and if you map that out, eventually we'll achieve this greatness. They've already achieved it in the past. Problem solved. Wow, that was hard.
no, it is, because I then have to take into account the statistical improbability of there being life that has persisted long enough to get to that point, and multiple iterations of it. So not only one time, but for each iteration where a physicist says we believe there's a black hole there, we then have to assume that this statistically improbable event of life persisting long enough to get to that point. So it's just an Occam's razor type thing at that point.
Right. So
But
a preference, basically. Yeah, I agree.
we can go backwards because we didn't. I guess
Well, don't
kind
forget
of. I think we kind of skipped some steps.
you're forgetting the multiverse. So the permutation of probability is excused away in the multiverse. So they actually were alive longer in the multiverse and then transmuted into our universe, right? Because they were doing CERN experiments and folding the brains, if you know brain theory. And so they actually permeated the brain and entered into our universe and then set up shop. So they actually had more than 14 billion years of permutatable time to work with. So sorry, you lose again. My story wins.
I don't know anything about that. Okay, so I don't have any. I mean, that would make for a very cool science fiction book. I think. I think it would be
Well,
fun to read.
don't forget that the expression of the multiverse is used as an excuse for the fine tuning of this universe to avoid a sentient agent creator being the necessary cause. They just remove the statistical improbabilities into an infinite number of universes and therefore attempt to collapse the probabilities into a certainty. So if they can do it, so can I. It's funny how that works. When you just start making shit up, you can just do whatever you want.
Yeah, like making up a deity.
Who made up a deity?
Sounded like you did. Is
When?
that your opinion? Is that your opinion, or is it not your
Why?
opinion?
When did
The
I make
hell?
that up? That was weird, dude.
Dude, why would you say that out of thin air?
Is that your opinion, or is it not your opinion?
That you made that
Dude,
up? Yeah, I think you made that shit
I
up,
said
dude.
that I said that the people arguing for the multiverse are attempting to skirt the presence of the statistical improbability of this universe existing via the anthropic principle and other such permutations of chance. By rather than having it attributed to a single agent causation, which will remove the chance altogether, they attribute it to an infinite number of universes in an attempt to collapse the probability, of which they have no evidence for.
All right.
Now, whether or not
Um,
I believe in a
well,
deity
yeah.
specifically is irrelevant to that point.
All right. Well, so that's a good point. So you'll have that point, and now my question is that your opinion that a deity is the creator of the universe, or not, or is it not your opinion?
Oh no,
It's
that seems to be the
for me, it's
necessary fact.
for me, it's not my opinion. Okay, it seems to be a necessary fact. All right. All right. Well, I'm sure as you've heard, it's a very common argument. We've all heard this argument. Uh, if there's a deity that created the universe, who created the deity? Well, we may as
That's
well
a
go there.
stupid argument. But anyways, dude, it doesn't matter
What?
because according to your own logic from before, you said that the overwhelming consensus of the scientific community is a certain model. Well, guess what? The overwhelming consensus of the populace of the human race throughout all antiquity is that a deity exists. And so by your own logic, therefore it must exist.
Mm,
Yeah, most
no.
people today believe in deity of some style, and most people throughout human history have believed in deity. So the majority of humans that have ever been alive, including
Okay.
present day, have believed in a deity. Therefore, according to your logic, that if it's consensus and most people agree that the deity exists, therefore it must be true. How could it be otherwise?
Uh,
Statistics.
uh, all right. It's missing a couple steps of my own logic. So it's not my logic is not a bunch of people believe it, therefore it's true. If you go, if you have a car problem, you go to a mechanic, right?
Not
If you've got,
analogous. Mechanics
Who's
have
the
firsthand
globe
priority
earther?
if
knowledge.
you
Hey,
go
listen, in
to
case you
a,
didn't know, mechanics have firsthand priority knowledge of the cause and effect relationship between the mechanisms of the car and the output of the result. So, no way is this analogous to making stories about black holes, brother. Not even close.
so so are you saying that a physicist is less knowledgeable about physics than
No, I'm saying he's less knowledgeable
a
about black
neolithic
holes than
person?
a mechanic is about whether or not a spark plug is going to do something in your engine, dude.
Well, I'll tell you this: they know more about it than the average person.
Well,
Physicists
yeah,
that
but
study
listen,
physics,
listen,
they
listen,
know
dude,
they
listen, dude.
know more.
People at a Star Trek convention know how to speak Klingon, and they know how many trilithium crystals are needed for the Warp 7 core. Who cares?
Who cares? Most people. I think most people care. I'd say
Yeah,
most
yeah,
people.
we do. We agree. You're right. You're right.
No.
You're finally starting to get it. Many people love Star Trek, and many people love space stories from alleged space story wizards.
Yeah, it's like deities. Yes, many
Yeah,
people like
yes, you're
deities.
correct. They treat
Yeah.
these scientists as if they're deities, as if they have the gospel truth and what they say is the truth, because quote unquote they're doing it under the auspices of science when actually they're doing pseudoscience.
So let me ask you this: why did you say it was a stupid question to ask who created the deity that created the universe? Why is that a stupid question?
Because the concept of a transcendental deity is that it's uncreated and the necessary precondition for subsequent reality. So the concept of asking who created that would be incoherent on its face, dude.
Okay, so I can just say that the
If you ask
singularity
somebody this
was
question, dude,
was
listen.
whatever
If
that
you say
sentence was.
a baby needs a mother, do you say, well, does that mother need a mother? Is that what you ask? Or do you agree a baby needs a mother?
Both. Both are true.
Oh, so to
Both of those are true.
prove that a baby needs a mother, you have to prove that the mother was a baby and had a mother.
Uh, s- to prove that a baby has a mother, I have to prove that.
The
Yeah.
only proof you need
Yeah.
is there's a baby there. You can't have a baby without a mother. The antecedent of a baby is a mother.
You're right, and the antecedent of a
I
mother
am
is a
right.
mother
Thank
because
you.
a baby,
Yeah, well, let me
the
ruin your day,
baby.
friend. Let's just fast forward to modern science because you're stuck in the past. Um, so, in case you didn't know, there's this idea that there was a big bang and there was this cosmic fart that caused everything, and it leading to today through the processes of cosmological and biological evolution, resulting in sentient entities that are present and able to do science. And then you take the scientific endeavor and you start studying, and you find out that the macro world is actually made up of a micro world, which has different levels of energies and ways things work that might even be fantastical in three-dimensional local interpretations. So you end up with non-locality, extra dimensionality, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so then they get super interested and they're like, hey, we want to study this. So let's make particle physics colliders and let's find ever decreasing time states, ever decreasing energy states, and ever decreasing matter states. In other words, the smallest thing, the shortest amount of time, and the least amount of energy. Now, lo and behold, these men who study this, who, by the way, believe in the globe, by the way, believe in evolution, they're starting to write books and they're starting to come out with papers and even doing seminars and even doing TED Talks where they're saying that the results of the experiments that they're doing contemporaneously in the present are forcing them, by the results of the experiment, to accept the fact that the physical, energetic, and temporal states that we love and enjoy cannot exist without the a priori existence of an eternal sentient present agent. Now, these men are not specific theists coming to this conclusion, they're evolutionists. They're not flat earthers coming to this conclusion, they're evolutionists. So, why is it that all these men are coming to the conclusion that the physical, natural, material, temporal, energetic state that we enjoy is actually a least part of reality, and the eternal sentient agent is first order and must exist before the physical natural world can exist? In other words, proving that an eternal sentient agent, and ergo uncreated, is the source of the creation of the physical and natural world. That's weird. Hey, you want to read a book about it? Look up Case Against Reality by Donald Hoffman. He also has a nice interview on Lex Friedman where he talks about it. You also might want to look into subjective idealism and monistic idealism. And then maybe you'll finally be up to speed on the current science.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, before you go, I just want to make it clear. Yes, the sentient agent is eternal and uncreated, in case you didn't know. Now you know. Scientifically validated be the case. Anyway, go ahead, ask your question.
I'm not here to argue about God or anything. I'm not really sure about that. So for a flat Earth, do you think it's possible? Do you think anyone currently right now has the technology to fly into space and take a photo of whatever the Earth is right now? Do you think that technology exists?
Allegedly, but the amount of technology that's actually able to achieve what you just said is very limited. So, for
Okay.
example, Katy Perry. Well, let me give you some examples. So, like, Katy Perry allegedly went to space. Bezos
Yeah.
allegedly went to space. Kirk allegedly went to space, et cetera, et cetera. None of them got high enough to see any significant portion of the Earth to be able to tell anyone what it was or take a photo of the entire thing. Now, let's go up to the ISS. The people on the ISS are 240 miles away from the surface of the Earth. From their vantage point, they could only see less than 3% of the total surface area of the Earth. Again, not high enough. They can't take a picture of the Earth that would tell you what it is one way or the other. They can't give you eyewitness testimony that could tell you what the Earth is one way or another. So the only people that could tell you are people that have been approximately greater than 1,200 miles from the surface, which is only the cislunar astronauts, right? Who've been into the cislunar space beyond that range. And of them, there's only 40. And of those, there's only the 4 who allegedly went recently and the 2 who are left alive from the previous missions, meaning 6 people. Now, of the technology that isn't humanoid in origin, right? So not a person telling you, hey, I saw it with my eyes. The technology that allegedly has been far enough away from the Earth and taken photos, right? For example, the Himawari 8 satellite supposedly takes a photo of the entire Earth every 10 minutes. That's been proven to be a composite. They actually accessed the FTP server and found that it was using Robert Simmons, who is, by the way, a NASA artist. They were using his data set and overlaying NOAA, the National Oceanic and Aeronautics Administration data. And so it's just a composite image, not a photograph at all. The alleged Voyager, which took an image of the pale blue dot, you can't even tell what it is in the image. The alleged 72 blue marble, there's no way to validate whether that's actually an image of the Earth, right? So all this is specious at best. Now, if you could get far enough away from the Earth to take a whole photo of the Earth, maybe you'd have something to say. And if you could present an image that was actually validated to be the true Earth, sure, maybe. But as of now, there's nothing really compelling.
Okay. First of all, to SSG in the comment section, I do know what NASA is. I'm just asking a bunch of questions just to gauge what the consensus opinion is of the flat earthers here. Because you could argue a lot of different things, right? I've seen a lot of different flat earth sort of models. But anyway, so first of all, you claim that the astronauts in the ISS, they can't actually see the whole Earth. So if the Earth was flat,
No, it's not a claim. That's not a claim. That's geometry. So if you're 250 miles away from a surface, you have a certain angle of approach, right? And if the surface is claimed to be greater than 190 million square miles, it's either laid out flat or in a ball, depending on how you look at it. Even if it was a ball, you could only see less than 3% because you have a limited viewing angle, right? So you can't see 360 degrees simultaneously. So if you're looking at less than 3% of a surface, you're not going to be able to tell me the shape and form of the entire surface. So that's not a claim that they can't do it. They just can't. There's no way. They're not in a position to be able to do it.
yeah, okay, I understand that. So what are they doing then in the ISS, for example? Like, are they orbiting or are they just stuck in the same place? What are they actually doing?
Well, what do they claim that they're doing? Here's what they claim they're doing. They claim that they're in an area which has alleged quote unquote microgravity. But the reason it has microgravity is because they're constantly falling around a ball. Okay. So they're not even
Yeah,
in floaty space. Okay. They're in
no,
low Earth orbit allegedly, which
no,
really
to
you can
balance,
just
yeah.
translate to high altitude, right? So they're just at best a high altitude away from the Earth. Now let's just say for sake of argument that whatever's going on in the Earth that makes you buoyant or makes you stick to the ground or whatever, that when you get up where they are is a little bit different. There's nothing wrong with that. And by the way, if you think like the more to your question, like how are they staying up there? Well, things float. And you say, well, how could they
No, no,
float
no, no,
on?
no, no. No, if they
Go
were
ahead.
floating in the same place, then they wouldn't be moving. Like the photos that we've got from the ISS,
No, they
unless you're
can
going to
move.
claim
You
that
can
you're
move and
fake.
float at the same time. You can move and
Exactly,
float at the
exactly.
same time.
So if they move, if they've been constantly moving, why haven't they reached the edge of the flat Earth?
Oh, because they're moving in concentric pattern. They're moving within a border pattern.
So you think they're purposely avoiding the edge of the flat Earth, which would they're purposely avoiding that edge. Is that what you're saying?
No, maybe they're in an environment which the natural flow of that environment leads them on a path that keeps them within a certain area. That's entirely congruent with them being able to float and move, but without any thrust because they're being carried along by forces that aren't in their control. And now
Okay.
we can demonstrate, but check this out real quick. We can demonstrate for a fact that things can float in high altitudes, and we can demonstrate that things can be propelled by energies that are within high altitudes. That they already do this with balloons and other type things. But let's say that's aside. You can demonstrate quantum levitation, right? So when things get super cooled, the properties change. And if the nature of the environment up there is different than the nature of the environment down here, for example, when you get into superfluid states, right, where things are super cooled, they allegedly become frictionless, and they pass through solid objects. So the thing could
Okay.
move freely with no friction and just be floating in an energy layer. So it's
Yeah.
not it's not unreasonable.
So in that case, why has the ISS passed over Antarctica and it hasn't? No one has noticed that there's a giant edge. Assuming that you believe in the model where Antarctica is the edge of the flat Earth.
Well, yeah. Why would I assume that? I don't know whether Antarctica is an edge of a boundary of the limits of the Earth or not. For all I know, it's a continent or a C-shaped thing, and there's more land beyond it. And so when they do a little loop-de-loop
Okay.
around Antarctica, that's not the end of the Earth. For all I know, how could I possibly
Okay.
know
So
that?
do you think that Antarctica is the boundary around the world that we live in, like the world that we know?
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay, so
No.
and what's the alternative? Like, there's not really much alternative if you're a flat earther because people have gone around Greenland, around the North Pole multiple times. I'm sure people have done it with Antarctica, but that's easier to claim that it's also conspiracy because less people have done it. You know, there's not many people there. You're not really allowed to travel around Antarctica. So if you're not going to claim that it's Antarctica, if you don't know, then how can you claim that the Earth is flat at all if you don't know what's around the edge? Like,
Oh, well, that's simple. That's simple. Very simple. So when somebody says something flat, they're not making a claim about the boundary condition. So, for example, if I measure a surface area to be flat, that could be a portion of a surface area which is the boundaries are a triangle, the boundaries are a dodecahedron, the boundaries are a star shape, and I could go on a list of infinite shapes in which the perimeter has
yeah,
a surface area that's flat, right? So the boundary
yeah,
condition is irrelevant to the claim whether the Earth is flat or not.
but you have to have a model that
No,
works with
no,
how people are
you don't
currently
have to.
navigating around the world. Well, otherwise it's just not true. Like, I can travel right now. I can travel from New Zealand. I can take a flight to Singapore. I can take a flight to the USA. Um,
Yeah.
and I can look out of the window and I can see everything below me. So there is a point where you can't say that some countries are on the other side of the earth as other countries because people are already traveling and the flight times are shorter. But the only
Wow,
model
dude,
that could
you're just
kind of
not
work.
even making sense anymore. You looked out the window, therefore countries.
No. So if you take a flight from one country to another, that on the globe model, it's closer. Then, so
Yeah,
if I
let's
took a
try
flight
this. Let's
from,
try this. Well, let's just get rid of the hypotheticals, okay? You've been on a flight,
yeah,
right? You've allegedly, somebody could infer that you're claiming you validated these paths and these land masses, right? While you were in the
yeah.
flight, correct? Okay, so stop talking hypotheticals and just tell us your story of what you witnessed.
So my argument is, I've taken a flight to Australia. I've been there before, and I've also been to Europe. The flight to Australia is much quicker than the flight to Europe. That's kind of obvious, right? So I'm arguing
Well,
that there are
it
only.
depends on where you are. It depends on where you are. You haven't told us where you started from.
I said I started from New Zealand.
Okay, New Zealand. Okay.
So you have to have a model for the flat Earth where
Oh,
countries are roughly in the right position. You can't have a model where Europe is closer to New Zealand.
Well, wait a minute. When you fly in a plane, are you affixed to the ground?
No, you're in the air.
Right. So your speed isn't limited by anything on the ground, correct?
No, but since commercial planes are roughly traveling at similar speeds, you will
No, that's
probably
not
get
true.
to.
Planes that enter jet streams travel much faster than planes that aren't.
Sorry, say that again.
If you enter a jet stream, you travel much faster than a plane that isn't.
If you enter a jet stream, now I'm not super knowledgeable about aviation. So then, what about the planes that don't enter jet streams? Like, this is all a big if. I could Europe 100 times and to Australia 100 times. I'm always going to get to Australia faster every time. So all I'm claiming is that you have to have a model that roughly preserves where everything is in the globe model because that works pretty well as for the flight times when you're getting to places.
you don't
Sorry
have
for
a
not being
globe
very
though.
clear here.
Yeah, you don't have a
Isn't
globe though.
New Zealand to Europe shorter no matter what map projection you use?
What? New Zealand to Europe? What are you talking about? New Zealand's
Here,
on the
hold
other
on.
side
To
of the Earth to
Australia,
Europe.
you mean?
Oh, yeah. New Zealand is right next to Australia. It's always going to be faster. So, like, if you drew a
Oh, wow.
boundary,
So if it's right next to Australia, it's always going to be faster, and Europe is further. I mean, how does it even make sense to say it takes different? Of course, it's going to take different. Duh.
yeah, of course. So I'm saying that if you had a flat Earth model where New Zealand was on one side of the disk and Australia was on the other side, on the opposite side, if you
This guy's
drew the boundary
confused.
in
He
between
thinks
those
we live
colors.
on a disk. He thinks we live on some kind of a floating disk in space.
No, I think you think that if you have a flat Earth model, right, you have to have some countries
Uh-uh.
or some territories on one
No.
side and some
Uh-uh.
territories on the other side. Okay, then
No.
what are you arguing?
New Zealand is
You're
New
the one
Zealand
trying to argue a
southeast.
model. We don't have a flat Earth model.
So if you
Well,
don't
isn't
know
New
what you
Zealand
believe, then what do you
southeast
even
from
believe in?
Australia anyway?
No, answer my question. If you don't know what you believe in, if you don't
Oh,
know,
I don't. It's not a belief. Earth is flat and stationary. It's measured that way. So you don't have to believe in it. You can just go do it yourself. You can go measure it yourself.
so if you believe that Earth is flat and you can't define where the edges of,
No,
or
it's
even if there are
flat
no
and
edges, if you can't define where
stationary,
places are, it's
and it
flat
doesn't
and stationary.
require belief. It doesn't require belief because you can just go measure it, like planar surveying. You can just go measure it.
So you're
Holy
really going to
crap,
claim
you
that you
do.
can just put a level on the ground and just say, oh yeah, this is flat, so the entire Earth is flat.
Yeah.
No,
Yes,
but
that's how you
anyway, New
start. You
Zealand,
start
New
with the full
Zealand, New
water.
Zealand is southeast from Australia, so you'd have to pass over Australia to get to Europe anyway, dude. That doesn't even make sense to even bring this up as an argument, dude.
Exactly. I'm saying that if you were to draw a boundary between New Zealand and Australia, because a flat Earth is always going to have a center, like something in the
Why would
center
I draw
of
a
the plane.
boundary between New Zealand and Australia, dude?
Because you're doing it with
Why are you
Antarctica.
Connecting
making
that
up a
water.
Antarctica
flat
is
Earth model for
most
us,
flat
dude?
Earthers do it with Antarctica.
Why are you making up a flat Earth model saying now we have to have a center also?
Because all flat Earth models will have to have it. When you look at
That's the
our
model that
world
you're
right now,
making up. We don't have a
well,
model. You
there's
made up a
no other
model.
possible way. There's no other
You
possible
made
way.
up the model though. You can't use your model in here.
I'm saying any
I think
model
he's
can
under the
work.
misapprehension that the flat Earth has to end at a certain azimuth or a certain latitude or something.
Okay, I'll explain everything again because I think you guys are misunderstanding me. If we have the Mercator projection, let's say, the globe as we know it now, or the flat Earth or whatever, the countries that are common knowledge on the internet, you can just search up world map, right? You get the Mercator projection. If you have a flat Earth, if you have a flat Earth, either the center of the flat Earth, or even if it goes on forever, the center kind of has to be Greenland because people sail all the time from, let's say, from like Russia to Canada, for example. You can go right there in a straight line. And by center, to the people who are asking that, I mean the point where the rest of the world. I'm sure you've seen the Antarctica, the flat Earth models where Antarctica sort of surrounds everything, right? That's the only one I can see working because people are traveling no straight lines on it. What do you mean no straight lines on the globe?
No, that doesn't explain the sun rising in the southeast and setting in the southwest in the winter and rising in the northeast and setting in the northwest in the summer for me in Ohio on a globe or your flat earth model that you created.
So I'm arguing though, how is the distribution of countries and like what this guy just posted, like how are the countries actually distributed in flat Earth? Are you guys saying you don't know? You just know that the Earth is flat. You don't actually
Well,
know.
yeah, we know it's not a globe. Yep. And I live in Ohio. I don't really plan on going anywhere. It's nowhere really fun to go.
All right. So you're basically saying you know the Earth is flat from
Yes.
whatever sort of measurements you've done. You just don't
The
know
plan, yeah.
how the countries are.
It measures flat. Water is always flat and level. If there's no wind blowing over it, you know that, right?
Yeah, water because of gravity.
So
It's not.
gravity makes things flat then. Okay, I'll give you
No,
gravity.
gravity doesn't
Gravity made
make
the
things
earth flat.
flat.
Yeah, gravity. Yes, you just said. I said water is always flat and level, and you said
No,
yes
because
because of gravity. So
Earth
gravity
has a
made the
solid.
earth flat. I agree with you.
Gravity did not make the Earth flat. If you
Yes,
have a
it
glass
did.
of water and
Check
you
it
pour
out. Yeah,
water
pour
inside the
water out.
glass, it's
Pour
flat.
water out. It doesn't turn into a ball. It goes flat. So
Because
obviously
the
gravity
center of
makes things
gravity
flat.
is at the center of the Earth because that's where the center of all of the mass is concentrated.
Center.
By
No,
center,
yeah,
I mean
water
at the Earth's
spreads out.
core.
It doesn't. Water spreads out. It doesn't like go to a point.
No. That's because when all of the mass in the Earth, uh, so gravity.
What he's trying to say is he's flat means curved to him.
Oh no,
I'm
yeah,
not
we
trying
can't
to
do
say
that.
that flat means curved. No, I'm trying to say
Yeah, we're not
that
doing
Well,
that.
how did you get to this point when you guys were just talking about water? You both agreed on the flatness of water, and then you started talking about gravity.
And then
if
I
you
agreed
took
with him that gravity makes things flat. I
if you took
agreed.
water into space,
Yeah, and
it
then
would
he
become a
started going,
circle.
no, and then he backtracked. He
Oh,
That's
hold
not what I
backed
on,
into
said.
the
That's not
water
what
hold
I
and
said.
on,
came
hold on.
backwards.
I can answer this. All right, so I can simulate space in my garage because I have a vacuum chamber, so I can simulate that. So I can put water in my vacuum chamber and then simulate space, and water turns into gas and leaves the vacuum chamber. So what happens in space?
If you look at the astronauts on the ISS, where they're in that free
No, not
floating
them.
state,
Not them.
they take
You
water
said
out,
space.
and it's in a circle. It's a sphere.
Oh, that's in a pressurized room. Yeah,
We've
that's
got
air pressure making liquid water.
We've got air
Yeah,
pressure
air,
here on Earth
yes,
as
it's
well.
air pressure. Right, you have air pressure that makes the liquid water. But since you think you
Yeah,
live on a ball in a vacuum that's in the vacuum of space and there's nothing surrounding you, just launch a rocket and fly into the vacuum. What's holding the water in the air down?
Can we just take a moment to realize that a globule of homogeneous substance is held together by intermolecular forces? Has nothing to do with gravity whatsoever.
The reason I said that water, the reason you guys made the argument as well, you guys said that water is flat when I poured it into a cup, and I said that's because of gravity. And then you guys said, well, no, that means that because this water becomes flat
You
from
said it.
gravity,
Well, is
You
the
the
said
water
Earth
it's flat
must be
flat or
flat
not?
because
from
of
gravity.
gravity. You said it's flat, and I just agreed with you.
No, I said that when you pour water in a cup, eventually it will settle to a point where it will appear flat because of gravity. That's because
Right.
the center of gravity
Gravity makes things
is
flat.
underground. It's in the center of the
Okay,
core
No,
of
that's
the
you're
Earth.
that's
making up,
interesting.
making up a
That's
story.
interesting. Let's agree. Let's agree. But then let's extrapolate that. So when does that water that appears flat become curved? Go ahead.
When does the water that appears flat?
Right. So the
This,
water is being held down to the surface of the earth, and it appears flat. Appears
yeah.
flat in your bathtub. It appears flat in your swimming pool. It appears flat at your lake down the street from your house. It appears flat on the bigger lake when you go down the street a few more miles to the state park. So when does it start to curve?
If you were to like somehow snap your fingers, make all of the solid matter in the Earth and the mantle in the Earth's core, if you were to make that disappear, but if you keep the gravity that generates because of the amount of mass, and you were to go to the center of the Earth, and you were to
No,
scoop
dude,
out the
dude,
glass of
could you
water.
stop? Could you stop going into fiction land, please, and just
No, 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 no,
demonstrate
no, no.
reality?
This is
Oh,
how
no, no, no.
globers
We got to
think,
stay
right?
in fiction land. Okay, I understand. I understand. Let's agree. Let's agree
This is
since
how
we were using
globers
a
think.
point of
This is how
agreement. No,
globers
let's
think, right?
agree. Let's agree that we're now going from reality into fiction land. Go ahead. Tell us about your fiction land.
It's true. I've never been to the center of the Earth, so I get what you mean.
Nobody
But
has.
if I were to pour out a glass of water, it would then turn into a
You have no
circle in the
idea.
center of
You
the
have
Earth.
no idea what it would do, sir. None.
In the
Zero.
center of the earth, the glass of water.
Hey, listen, let me help you out. Let me help you out, friend. So
It's a thought
there's a
experiment
lot of
because the
claims. Listen,
center
let
of
me help
gravity
you. Let
is
me
so
help you,
deep in
brother.
the ground.
Brother, let me help you. Let me help you. So there's a lot of claims about what's going on under the earth. But the only hole that's ever been dug in the earth to validate any of these claims of any significance is called the Kola Super Deep Borehole. They dug 8 miles down, and they did not accurately predict what was from the top to the bottom of the 8 miles. So if they can't predict what's going on 8 miles deep, they have no clue what's going on in the center, and neither do you.
Because gravity, you don't have to go down there to understand that.
Well,
Because
yeah, I understand. Yes, yeah. Okay, hold on, bro. Hold on. I need to PSA the audience. Okay, audience, we're going back to fiction land now. Okay, go ahead.
you don't need to go down into the center of the Earth to verify that gravity works the way it does. But scientists have been looking at that, like the way that planets orbit around the sun. That we already know how gravity works as a human race. It's already been done. There were philosophers who proved that the Earth
Sure, it
wasn't flat.
has. Yeah, tell us more about your fiction land.
So why is my land a fiction land and yours isn't? Where is your
Because you're
evidence
talking
that
about
the Earth
things
is
that
flat?
have never been observed in the history of humanity, dude.
No one has observed a flat Earth either.
Oh yeah, you have. You have every time you went out and saw flat water. You were just too
this would be
indoctrinated with the
identical.
idea. You were just indoctrinated with the idea that that water's curved. So when you look out and saw the flat water, you said, you know what, this water's really flat, but it's actually a giant globe.
Because the Earth is so large, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference. You can see
Oh
Earth's
yeah, perfect. I agree with you.
Prove
So
it.
here, let me give you a line of logic. Let me give you a line of logic, friend.
right. Go for it.
I'm dating the most beautiful supermodel. And the reason you know that I'm dating her is because she's so busy, she's never at my house. Wow, look around. She's not at my house. Therefore, I'm dating her. Wow.
I don't see how that's related at all.
Yes, evidence of absence isn't evidence of presence, sir. By you
Exactly.
conceding that you can't, no, exactly. So now you have to prove the positive case that that flat water is actually curved, not just excuse it away by saying, well, it's obviously curved because I can't tell it's curved.
Because when you can actually observe it, you can see ships going over the horizon. They disappear.
That's not observing curvature. That's observing a ship disappearing. I thought you were trying to tell me you're observing curvature, so you seem to be confused.
You can see the ship. It will slowly disappear downwards over the horizon.
Sounds
The
like
sail
you're
will go down. I've seen
inferring,
videos
dude.
of it.
Yeah, that's inference. Oh, he's seen it, and now he's seen a video of it.
I'm not a
That
walking
would be
source book.
dude. Relax. Wouldn't that be just inferring it?
I doubt you guys have seen a flat Earth. I mean, it's too
Dude,
possible.
just answer the question. Wouldn't that just be an inference?
Well, in what sense? Like at the end of the day, everything that we know, like most things we haven't seen
Oh
firsthand.
boy,
We're relying on other people's
here we go.
first-hand
All
knowledge
right.
to do that.
Okay, fair enough. Let's say you saw a boat disappear and you thought you saw Earth curvature when you actually didn't. You just saw the boat disappear and then you inferred Earth curvature. Now, for
Yeah,
the boat to disappear because of Earth curvature, it has to be behind the curve relative to you, correct?
it would. There would have to be a curve in between us, me and the boat.
Yeah, if it was caused by a curve, there'd have to be a curve in between you and the boat. Now, according to the geometry of the Earth, it has a radius, 3,959 miles. It has a curvature rate, right? And so that
Yeah.
puts the horizon at at a specific location where your eye line would intersect it and would then be obstructed to the eye line of the boat, correct?
So you mean there's a point where the crest of the curve kind of where I wouldn't be able to see past that crest, and then I would only see the
Correct.
parts of the boat that are above. Okay, yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah.
Right. So that means that that would be a physical location, right? That exists.
At which point the crest of the curve.
The crest of the curve, right? It's at a
Yes.
specific
Okay.
geometric location. Okay, so here's the problem, friend.
Yeah.
You say we can't see the boat because there's a hump of Earth curve in the way. Here's the problem. We can see the horizon behind things it's supposed to be blocking. We can see boats 30 miles away. No boat is tall enough that exists to be seen 30 miles away based on the geometry of the globe Earth. So your idea that this is a geometric location that's blocking boats is erroneous. Not only that, but I can see the same effect on lakes that are smaller than the alleged curve would even produce a hump significant enough to block the boat in question. And I have many video and photographic evidence of this, and so do many people. In actuality, what you actually find when you go out and you look at the horizon, that the horizon appears to be in different locations all the time. And so it's clearly not a physical location. The horizon is an optical phenomenon, not a physical edge of an earth ball.
It's subjective where it is, depending on where you are.
Subjective. Dude,
The
even from the
horizon is going
same
to be in a
observer
different
location,
place.
listen, even from the same observer location that's in different places and shows different effects and different results. And my lake that I told you that I see things disappear is only 1,014 feet long, dude. The alleged hump of the Earth curve would be like less than a 32nd of an inch. So, sir, I'm just going to put it to you bluntly, in case you didn't know this. The horizon, by definition, is an optical phenomenon. Okay, it's not a physical edge of a ball.
The horizon is an optical phenomenon. So you're saying that it's just caused by whatever the effects of light are going across large distances. What do you mean?
Yeah, It's caused by the fact that you see with an angular field of view that you have limited angular resolution, that there's atmosphere, that there's differential conditions throughout the day, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
None of the factors are a curved Earth getting in the way, dude, because the curved Earth getting in the way has to be in a physical location. And if it's constantly moving around, it's not a physical location. And no, I'm not talking about the relative differential of the horizon if you're at a different observer location. I'm talking about the same observer location.
So the
So no,
same
it has nothing to
observer.
do with the subjective. It has nothing to do with the subjective viewpoint, dude.
So are you saying the same observer will witness different horizons of kind of
The same location at the same location on different days or even different times of the same day.
that is pretty interesting.
Sometimes they'll observe things disappear at a shorter range. Sometimes they'll observe things not having disappeared at ranges that supersede the globe geometry by 10 times. Sometimes they'll see the horizon behind an object that it's supposed to be in front of.
What?
So no, sir, the horizon is not a edge of a physical ball.
So if you're going to claim that it's because of optical effects, I could just claim the same
No,
thing.
it is because of optical effects. It's the only category it can be in, sir. There's
I could just claim the
geometry
same
and then
thing.
there's optics.
I could claim the same thing, that the Earth could be curved, and even though I shouldn't be able to see these whatever ships on the horizon as they disappear, or even though it's changing, I could just claim, yeah, it's just optical effects as well. The only difference being that,
That's great. That's great. Now prove your conditional if the Earth was curved by demonstrating actual curvature rather than inferring it from the fact you can't see something. Go ahead, prove it.
well, from both of our observation, if the Earth was flat or if it was a giant globe, we wouldn't be able to tell the difference just from our position here. So you
Oh
can't
no,
claim
we
that the
can.
globe
We
is
know
the
we can.
exception.
Let me tell you why. It's very simple. The flat Earth observations supersede the globe by orders of magnitude that cannot be explained by optical effects. So, for example, the optical effects needed are refraction coefficients approaching 1, like 0.93, 0.96. These don't exist in the ambient atmosphere. So, the refraction conditions you need don't exist. They've never been displayed, they've never been measured. And in the observations that supersede the globe geometry, the destructive effects of those conditions that must be there aren't present.
So you're saying it's impossible on a globe Earth for refraction to explain what we witness.
Yep.
Okay, well, there's a lot of ifs going on now. First of all, I'm not actually sure if what you guys said about the ships that they shouldn't be seen from a vantage point. I'm not entirely sure that's
Hey, dude,
actually true.
if you're on a coastline, right,
Yeah,
and you're looking out at a ship 30 miles away, and
yeah.
let's say you're a 6 foot tall person. First off, your horizon's going to start approximately 3 miles away, but the hidden height after the curve begins, it's going to extend out to greater than 300 feet. In fact, I think at 30 miles, it's 400 feet. No ship is 400 feet tall. So it would be below the blocking that is caused by the Earth curve. So no, you shouldn't be able to see any ship at 30 miles, period.
Okay, I haven't seen a ship at 30 miles. Uh, where you guys actually have photos or videos, or do you
Dude,
guys
we got
have
hundreds
personal
of them.
experience? Personal experience
Yeah.
where you can see that.
Dude,
Okay,
we got a video. You can one of our dudes at Boston Harbor tracking a boat with marine tracker and buoys, and he gets the ambient weather conditions from the buoy, showing that there's no significant refraction that day. That could even if there was, it wouldn't be at the value that would be needed to lift this boat up, right? So you can know the size, you can know which ship it is, you can know what size the ship is, you can know how far away the ship is from the shore, you can do the globe geometry and find that the boat should be well hidden below the hidden height off of the hump of alleged earth curvature that's there, but yet the boat is witnessed straight from an iPhone camera.
okay. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not actually a global fucking geographer or anything. So I'm out of arguments here. Like, so I'm not conceding that you're right. I just don't have an explanation for that. So, like, that could just be
Yeah, that's
something
fair.
I don't know. Uh,
Yeah, it could be. It could be that the Earth is actually a bigger globe than they told you, and they were lying about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, to accept that the Earth is flat would be to accept that NASA is lying, plenty of scientists are lying. It would accept that pretty much everything
Let's just say
is a
some. Let's
massive
just agree.
conspiracy.
Some people would be knowing the truth and then telling you a falsehood contrary to the truth that they know. But not everyone would have to, because most people actually aren't in a position to know whether the Earth is flat or a globe, and they're actually just operating on models and subsystems, and so they have no firsthand knowledge of what the shape of the Earth is at all, and they're just operating under a belief assumption.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I am just believing the what scientists are currently saying. I don't have anything better to believe because I haven't seen it firsthand. Now, usually with
Yeah,
this
that's
sort of
fair.
thing,
But you know
if
what's
you're not
interesting, brother?
what
You know what's interesting?
what's that?
Is if you have any modicum of expendable income, and I'm talking less than $100,
Yeah.
you could go witness this for yourself by the end of the month,
Okay.
depending on where you can travel. You could do tests to see if the claims of the globe geometry are true. For example, I go to my personal lake, which is only like 5 miles from me, and I've done plenty of tests debunking certain globe claims. And
So correct me if I'm
it only takes the debunking of one of their claims to start to realize that maybe I don't know what I thought I know.
so I accept there are plenty of things I don't know. So I'm just saying I'm not knowledgeable enough as a scientist, or even if I haven't done enough personal. If you're going to say that
Well, have you
that
ever heard
counts,
this claim? Have you ever heard this claim? I know her in a biblical sense. Have you ever heard that said before?
no, I haven't.
So well, let me put it to you like this. A lot of people know, let's just say your wife. A lot of people know your wife, but
Yeah.
you know your wife because you've experienced her on a level which nobody else has. Now, many people, they walk around thinking they know the globe, but very few people actually know the globe. And when they go out to try to feel the globe, and to get intimate with the globe and to make love to the globe, they find out that the thing they thought they knew wasn't actually there. So, for example, I'll give you an example, a concrete example. A man, a physicist, PhD level, specializing in optics, photo something or ametry or whatever, where you like measure things with light and lasers and stuff. And so he came upon the idea of flat Earth, kind of like you might have, and he said, you know what? I'd like to go out and test it and find out. So he took his knowledge, he took his lasers, he went out and did some observations and some tests and measured some water using his techniques and his expertise. And then he concluded at the end of his journey, there's absolutely no hump of water in between point A and point B. I'm just measuring a flat Earth. I have to concede the Earth's flat by my own direct measurements. And we actually have a bunch of his videos you could watch, see his journey. And his name is Dr. John D. That's a moniker. I don't know his actual first name or last name.
Okay.
But I actually think he has some evidence in there where you can actually check up on his credentials if you want to. But you can actually verify everything he does. He's very, very forthcoming on data points and his methods and why he's doing what he's doing, showing you the equipment, saying how it works, all this stuff.
Well, yeah, but there are also people who have proved, and I use obviously I can say both of us can say proved for contradictory statements. So take proved with a grain of salt. Um, there are people though. There are flat earthers who tried to prove the Earth was flat and accidentally proved it was round.
Nope,
I'm sure you've
never
all seen the
happened.
YouTube video.
Never happened.
You're claiming that's
Never
all fake.
happened, sir.
So from
No, no,
my
no, no,
perspective,
no. Think about it this way. Think about it this way. I'll give you an example. So there's a famous one in the Netflix documentary Behind the Curve, where a person
okay,
named Jaron Campanella allegedly was going to do a laser test setup to shoot a laser through differential heights of cardboard holes and then to
yeah,
see if it hit the other side, assuming that if it was in a straight line, it would hit the other side. And if it was obstructed by curvature, obviously you couldn't curve the laser to hit the target. Now, the problem is he burned the laser and they actually used a flashlight. Not only that, but when they did the setup, in the documentary, there's no evidence of where they placed the cardboard, how far away they were from the sight lines, even if the cardboards were in a straight line. Also, the math that you do on there Jaron would have to be 17 feet tall for it to even work, and he's not 17 feet tall. So the whole setup was a sham. There was no legitimate test done at all. And you'll actually find that there is no comparative laser test demonstration of Earth measurement on the globe side, except TV shows like the one we just described. And they're very speciously done, no data. And the other one that was done on Discovery Channel, which was hosted by Speak and Spell himself, Stephen Hawking, you watch that one and they allegedly do a laser test and you could see there's a million jump cuts. There's no way to see if anything actually happened in reality or in sequence, or to even see a continuation of the laser to the target. And there's no data of where they were or anything. Not only that, but there's actually evidence that they scrubbed. So, for example, if you do a scrub on a frame and then you add an image to a frame, you'll get artifacts from the previous frames. They're literally trying to say that they hit a helicopter behind the curve of the Earth. And when the helicopter goes down and the helicopter comes up, you can see the same birds flying in the exact same pixel for pixel motion that they were in the previous frames, meaning they edited the image. So no, sir, there is absolutely none comparative to what the flat earthers have done to conclude the Earth is flat when it comes to laser measurements on the globe side. There's none. Zero.
Okay, I'm gonna take what you're saying for granted. I'm gonna so if all of this is a sham, like if the tests that they've done are a sham, just search it. There's a philosopher. What's his name? I don't know how to pronounce his name. Eratosthenes or something.
No, he wasn't a philosopher.
The librarian at the library.
Sorry, yeah, scholar, librarian, poet, inventor.
Yeah,
While you're
This
thinking
is
of the right thing to say, I'll throw another example on. There was another one done by National Geographic, right? So we got Netflix, National Geographic now added to it. We're Discovery Channel. So on the National Geographic one, they took some flat earthers out. One famous one being Mark Sargent, and they were going to do a test on a lake where they were going to prove that boats disappear from the bottom up because of the horizon. And so what they did is they took a kayaker and they gave him this board which had stripes of color on it, so they could see, this stripe represents 2 feet, this stripe represents 2 feet, et cetera, et cetera. So the idea is as they go out, they're going to see that it disappear. So what's funny is the guy starts going out, and to be fair, the bottom of the board does look like it's starting to disappear. And then the girl who's the host says, "Hey, look, it's disappearing because of the horizon." But guess what? As she's saying it, the filmographer is looking out over the water, and you can see the horizon behind the boat. It's literally embarrassing.
yeah. I haven't watched any of these, so I'm kind of have to take your word for granted on all of these. Honestly, I probably should have come in here with probably should have prepared before I came in here. I just sort of came in here by myself.
Yeah.
There is
You know
something
what's
I
the best
can
part about
argue about.
those? The best part
Yeah.
about those that I mentioned is they were distributed on publicly accessible free channels like Discovery, National Geographic, and Netflix. And I mean, yes, you do have to pay for Netflix, but you can get it for free if you really want to. But the point is that everybody can go watch it
Yeah,
and
of
just
course. But you can
see
draw
that it's
different
all
conclusions.
nonsense.
People draw different conclusions all the time based on what you see. Like, obviously, so do you accept that mainstream media will generally say that the Earth is round?
Well, yeah, most people agree that the Earth is a globe of some kind, right?
Yeah.
Like that's generally what people believe. Sure.
So if you can only draw the conclusion that the Earth is flat, they're not going to publish that. So of course you can
Right.
draw
Real
different
quick,
conclusions for different things.
just
Yeah.
1 second. You said that people come to conclusions for what they see, but the issue with the globe is that nobody sees the globe, and still people conclude that it is a globe. Nobody observes the globe, but they conclude it is a globe somehow.
And no one observes the entire flat Earth as a whole, but you guys have your own reasons to conclude that the Earth is flat.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's true. Yep.
so what I can argue though is first I have a question. How do you think the sun and the moon how do you think that works with the flat Earth? Because if the sun and the moon circle around the flat Earth, I mean, I guess that could work, but are you going to claim that the sun and the Earth orbit around the flat Earth, so that they're both, one of them is underneath the entire plane.
No, they're
because of
no,
this-
they're never underneath. They're never underneath the surface. They're always observed
Yes,
above the surface. There's never a time where they're observed below the surface. That makes zero sense.
yes. Okay, so we know that by looking at faraway planets like Mars, Jupiter, even Neptune, Pluto, they have some illumination from the sun. Do you agree with that?
Perhaps. How would I know where their illumination comes from?
But where else is it going to come from? Do you think they produce their own light?
I'm going to disagree with you because you can't prove why they're lit and why the light looks like it does.
No, I can't prove it, but it's the most likely, because our Earth
No,
is illuminated by the sun. So, and
no. Do you hear how silly that sounds?
so you're claiming the Earth is not illuminated by the sun.
Well, let me
No.
ask you this, friend. Are you trying to get to the claim that if the sun is above the earth, everyone would see it at all times?
Everyone should be able to see it at all times. Yes.
No,
If
that's
the Earth
based
was
on
flat.
assumptions. That's based
If
on
the
the
Earth was
assumption
flat.
that the sun is powerful enough to reach all surfaces at the same time, and that there's nothing
Exactly.
directing the light. Now, if you remove that assumption, your claim that everyone should be able to see it becomes moot.
And that's why I said we can all see, when you look at Jupiter, that's illuminated. Like
So,
it doesn't. So the only way to
right,
claim that the sun
right,
isn't powerful enough
so
is to
Can
claim
I
that
yeah,
ask
there's
but
some other light source that's illuminating Jupiter, or it's illuminating itself.
dude, you don't even know how far Jupiter is away, dude.
I don't know the
Yeah,
exact
AI
number,
poll?
but it's a lot
Yeah.
further away than the sun is from
Hey,
anywhere on Earth.
hey, dude, check this
How
out.
could you possibly know that?
Yeah. Can I ask him
So
a follow up?
are you claiming that Jupiter
Yeah,
is
because
closer?
it's because we have technology to actually measure things accurately. It's like how it's like asking like how do you know like what
Hey,
chemicals
Hey,
are made of water?
Maynard, what
Like, are you a
technology?
chemist,
What
bro?
technology?
So what
All right,
oxygen?
Maynard,
What is
get
water?
muted.
What is
Yep, get muted. You're too dumb to be here, bro. All right, sorry, bro.
Let him
You
speak.
don't know how
You heard him
sentences
speak for
work.
20 seconds, and then you immediately mute him.
yeah, hang on, dude.
Dude,
Get ready to
no,
jump
20
in.
cuts. Stop. In case you didn't notice, friend, he's just machine gun rattling point after point after question, and he's just going to keep doing it. We've dealt with him before. He literally never stops to engage or for you to even be able to answer his questions. So don't worry about it. I want to answer your questions because you're actually sincere. He's a troll loser. Okay.
So my questions were: do you believe that Jupiter is? I'll first ask the question: do you believe that Jupiter is further away, or any other planets that, according to science, are further away than Earth to Earth than the sun is to Earth? Do you believe that they're actually further away?
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay.
Nope.
Okay. In that case, I can't really claim that the sun is not powerful enough. It is powerful enough that everyone on the Earth can see it.
Well, let's go this way, brother. Let's go this way. Let's meet somewhere halfway. Would you agree that allegedly? See now Maynard's joining incessantly because he's trying to do a trick where he gets unmuted so that he can go on his verbal diatribe again. So now I have to ban him permanently. See the problem here, friend? I'm trying to talk to you, and he's just constantly spam joining. So I have to hear his little dingly dings, so I can't concentrate on answering your question. But anyway, so let's just agree that on the
Can
Earth
I do it?
there's a thick atmosphere, right? And allegedly between the sun and the celestials is something that is nothing like the Earth's atmosphere, right?
Yeah,
So
it's pretty much
in
exactly
other
what you said.
words, yeah. So in other words, there's a differential in the approach of the light from the sun to us versus the light from the sun to them. So that alone gives you pause to say, well, it's not going to be the same.
So you're claiming that because in your model of the world, you're saying the sun is in the atmosphere. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying the light from the sun is passing through atmosphere to reach us, and it's not
Okay.
supposedly passing through atmosphere to reach other things that may or may not be lit by the sun. So, in other words, the relationship between us and the sun is different than the relationship with things that are not us.
So then, if you were on whatever part of the flat Earth that you wouldn't be able to see the sun from, wouldn't you still be able to see in the atmosphere the effects of the sun lighting up wherever it's hitting. Listen, I'm not an expert on how
Well, dude, you did you know
illumination
that?
works
Did you know
and
that?
lights work.
Did you know that nighttime it's not pitch dark? Did you know that? There's actually light there.
Well, the sunlight reflects off the moon, and you
No,
can
I just
see
mean
reflections.
I just mean there's never a time where there's an area on Earth that has zero light, right? Let's agree to that.
Yeah, things are emitting radiation, like not
So,
as
for
much. I
example,
think.
you can use no, but I mean just light. You can use a starlight scope, which is not in the radiative sense. It's like it's not IR, nothing like that. It's just a
Yeah.
enhanced light scope that just magnifies the amount of light that's being cast into the sensor by like 1,000 times or whatever the heck. I've used these in the military, and you can see
Okay.
like it's broad daylight.
Yeah. There is light. It's not pitch dark. I agree with that. I have another. So if you can't see the sun because it has to pass through the atmosphere to get to us, then why can you see
Well, dude, I
stars
can't
at night?
listen to this. I can't see the sun where I live, and I live in a mountainous region, and there's a valley between these two mountain peaks, and you can go up on one and look at the other, and you know how far
Yeah.
apart these mountain peaks are. And when I look at the sun, it looks to me like it hasn't even passed the other mountain peak yet. But on certain days, I cannot see. I can see daylight, but I can't see the circle of the sun. So the most brightest part of the
So
sun, its circle itself, is
yeah,
impossible to see in the
you
middle
could
of the
have
day.
a cloud in front of the sun and you could still have daylight. Like just because you don't
Right,
see
or
the
just
sun itself,
ambient,
you
yeah,
still have
or just
daylight.
ambient haze. Yeah, you could also just have ambient haze, so that the sky looks like there's zero clouds. It's daylight in the middle of the day, but the sun circle cannot be seen. I experienced that plenty of times. So if the daylight sky, right, when the sun is overhead and at its brightest and strongest, the sun circle cannot be seen. And when we know that when the sun recedes and it approaches the horizon, it's 23,000 times less luminous, then the idea that if the sun keeps going away, eventually you're A, not going to be able to see the sun circle, and B, not going to be able to see a significant amount of light coming from the sun to where you get the impression that it's dark out. That's not unreasonable.
So how come people in the nighttime can never see the sun? So if you're in whatever part of the flat Earth that the sun currently isn't, I'm not entirely sure how you think it works. You can never see the
Listen, I
sun.
can give you a model. I could give you a model right now of a flat Earth, allegedly, just a arrangement of the
Okay,
continents on
okay,
a piece
okay.
of paper, printed out from a
You could
printer.
do that,
Just
but
hold
during
on, brother. Let me
nighttime,
finish the setup. Let me finish the setup. Thanks. So I could print this out, and then I could put a differential media on top of the flat Earth printout, and then I could put a single light source above it, and you'll see that it's impossible for that single light source to reach all points on the surface. I'm going to post it. You go ahead and talk what you're talking while I pull it up for you.
so around about roughly of Earth's surface, maybe slightly less, is we'll be currently experiencing nighttime right now, so you can't see the sun. So you you can't see, no matter where you are in this region, you cannot see the sun itself. So then, if you're claiming it's because the sun is too dim, why can you not see? Why from these areas? Why can you easily see stars? Where stars are just, I don't know, they could be smaller or larger versions of the sun, really, because the sun is a star. The stars still have
No,
to
the
have
sun
light that
is a
passes
sun.
through the
The
atmosphere.
sun is a sun, dude. There's no evidence. There's no evidence the sun is a star and the stars are suns, dude. But anyway, that being
Okay,
said,
okay,
in case you didn't notice, the stars that you can see are above the occlusion rate of the ambient atmosphere. So there's a diagonal occlusion. So when you look out horizontally, you have this thing called the Rayleigh extinction coefficient, which is essentially the ambient atmosphere after about 300 to 350 miles is opaque, so you can't see anything. So if you were looking out at the sun horizontally and it was beyond this extinction rate, and of course it wanes diagonally, but the lower the sun is in an angle comparatively, it's going to fall into that zone. It'd be invisible. But the stars are
yeah.
above that zone, so they're visible. So in other
Listen,
words, the
I can't
stars
argue.
are the
I can't
stars are
engage
most
with this at all.
likely in a diagonal relationship where it's the least amount of occlusion accumulating through the atmosphere.
You can still see
yeah, go ahead
stars
and
on the horizon.
no, you
You can
can't.
still see stars. Yes, you can.
Nope.
I've
No,
seen it.
about 15
I've seen
degrees.
it
No,
firsthand.
nothing lower. Nothing really lower than that. It's too distorted and gets all crazy looking.
I've seen it firsthand. Stars pretty much right on the horizon.
Then you were looking at
Okay,
them behind a mountain.
In a hilly
okay,
location,
but
maybe.
here's the problem, friend. Something you forgot is you don't see in distances, you see in angles.
Okay.
Right. So something that appears to be on the horizon relative to something else isn't necessarily on the horizon relative to that thing. Okay. It could be
Okay,
at a
listen, from my
different
perspective, I can't engage with this argument because first you've claimed that the sun and the stars are two completely different entities, like they're not the same class of thing. And now you're claiming that what I'm actually seeing on the horizon is not actually on the horizon. That from my own two eyes,
Well,
when
dude,
I've
you
witnessed
Yeah.
this
Let me help you
firsthand,
out.
that's
Yeah.
not
Let
true.
me help you out, brother. Let me help you out. Let me help you out. It's very simple. If you go out to a street and you have a bunch of street lights and you look down the corridor of street lights, the first street light you'll have to look up to see. The second street light you don't have to look up as much, and so on, to where basically you can see a majority of the street lights by just looking out towards the horizon. Now, the street lights will eventually reach a point where they appear to merge with the horizon. And so let's just call it the 75th street light. So street light 75, 76, 77, 78, all the way up through 150 will all appear to be on the horizon. But rest assured, they're not touching the horizon. And rest assured, they're at different distances, even though angularly they're occupying the same space in your field of view. So, yes, it is the case that something can appear to be on the horizon, but be closer to you or further away.
Okay, I understand that. I mean, you could do people know, like, we know where the stars are. So I'm willing to bet, like, maybe one day I could actually go out. There's a beach I go to sometimes, Whangamata Beach. You can see the stars sometimes. There's not very much air pollution here, so it's quite easy to see. We know. Do you agree that we know roughly the position of the stars in the sky relative to the Earth from using telescopes? That could be telescopes in space, telescopes on the Earth, from what we currently have. Do you agree
Oh,
that
no,
we,
that's
we
not
know
the way
roughly
they're
where the stars
mapped.
are?
No, the celestial sphere isn't mapped to a globe Earth. It's mapped to a point. That's observer centric.
So if I was an observer, though, do you agree that with whatever knowledge of where the stars are that we have today, I would be able to tell where the
It's
star
where
is that isn't
the
being distorted?
stars. No. It's where the stars are in your view, not where they actually are. There's a big difference.
So I'm saying, do you think that we know where the stars actually are, or do you disagree with that?
Heck no. Hey,
Okay.
nobody knows where a star actually is, dude. Not even close. Hey, let me
Okay,
help you
well,
out, friend. Not only let's just real quick. Not only do they not know where stars are, they don't know when stars are.
that's true. There's a lot of things that we don't know.
No, what I mean by that is that they're in their claim, the light that they're getting from the star is from the past.
Yeah, because light
Correct?
travels at a specific
Right.
speed. They're
So the
getting the light
idea that you
from the
haven't
past.
correct. So the idea that you know where a star physically is in the present is ludicrous.
With enough margin of
The only
error
thing you know
that we know it's roughly on
no,
the horizon.
there's no, dude. No, I'm gonna help you out. The only thing you know is where it is angularly in your field of view. So, for example, at any particular time, you might go to timeanddate.com or what's that other one, Stellarium, and you're going to get an observer centric based view of where the star would be in your field of view. That's all you're going to get. And so, if it says that the star is approaching, let's just say 1 degree in your field of view, then you're going to perceive that as being on the horizon. That doesn't tell you where the star is. It just tells you what the angle is that it's approaching you at.
Yeah, the light that is approaching. That's the whole point. The whole point was that, can the light reach us from at the horizon? Because you were claiming that the sun you can't see the sun
Holy
on the
crap,
horizon.
dude.
That's what you were claiming.
Okay, just like in the result of the light poles going down, the light pole that's just approaching the horizon but hasn't yet disappeared before it goes into to that zone where there's going to be like 30 light poles occupying the same angular space, but they're further away, which means they have more occlusion. Just because things appear to be on the horizon doesn't mean that something else that appears to be on the horizon, if you cast a ray out, you would intersect that object in three-dimensional space, dude. It's not how it works.
Okay, well, anyway, I've loved chatting to you. I'm way out of my element here. I'm just not a very good debater, to be honest. So
No
hopefully,
worries. Well, let me leave you
yeah,
with this. Let me leave you with this, brother. You may have heard, based on this idea about things setting in the horizon, you may have heard, well, if you see the sunset, you can
yeah,
get higher and then you can see the sunset again.
yeah.
Guess what? You can't do that with the stars. That's weird.
Okay.
It's almost like the stars and the sun don't follow the same rules. It's weird.
Or in different layers.
They're much, much further away. But yeah, anyway, it's been great. Thank you for the eye-opening comments, I'll say.
Yeah, no worries, brother.
And I still believe in the globe Earth, but
Yeah.
honestly, I
Just
am.
think. Just
Yeah,
think, brother. We could have just listened to Maynard bleat over us for the last 10 minutes. That would have been awesome.
yeah, I get what you're doing with like the people that come in here and just disrupt everything. But I mean, maybe the reason he's doing that is because you murdered him within 20 seconds. But if he's already got a history of doing this sort of thing, then yeah, I guess I kind of understand that. We need to have some actual people who know what they're talking about in here supporting the globe. I mean, I don't know what I'm talking about at all.
I think you guys should try to find the Globers that actually know what the proof is and bring them in here, because we've been
Yeah,
looking. I've been looking since 2013, so I haven't been able to find anything.
like what I'm saying is that I'm just a guy, right? I haven't, I don't actually work in any of these fields firsthand. So if we can get some people in here that actually have and who are globers,
We do.
that would
We
be a
do
lot better.
quite often. So, for example, we had an astrophysicist specializing in exoplanets on one time,
Yeah,
and he didn't even know the first rung of the cosmic distance ladder. So he was making claims about 16 by 16 pixel grids of colors that, it's like a little blue in the center, and then there's some light blue, and then some green, and of course these colors were added by the computer because it was mostly monochromatic. But they have certain sensors that decide what colors they add. And so he had like this 16 by 16 grid of pixels that was moving around, and he was telling us, you see that pixel moving is an orbit, and then I can calculate from that orbit that the density of the planet, and then maybe it has water or not. And we're like, dude, are you trying to tell me that from looking at that blob of pixels, you're going to tell me what the planet is in the center of that glob of pixels based on the way the pixels are moving? He goes, well, of course, because we can reverse engineer that from the orbits that we know locally, because we can reverse engineer that from this and from the way the sun moves and the distance from the sun to the earth. And then we asked him, well, okay, what's the first rung on the cosmic distance ladder? And he's like, I don't know. I'm like, well, that's the whole linchpin of these dimensions that you're claiming for the orbits. How come you don't know it? Like, this is the fundamental foundation of your entire enterprise that you're studying. Oh, I don't need to know that. I just need to know what I'm told about the pixels. Oh, I get it. So you're a schmuck.
well,
You're
no
just
one can
showing up
know
to work,
everything at once.
punching your clock. No, the point is that these alleged experts, they don't know the fundamentals of their own paradigm of which they're making their conclusions. They're so far down the track of assumptions, they have no clue whether it's correct or not.
You can't you can't know everything as a student. Like you kind of have to make assumptions that what people are
No,
telling
he's
you is right. Otherwise, you have
practicing, dude.
to
He's
independently verify
practicing in the
everything.
field. He's not a student. He's practicing in the field, dude. Supposedly being able to definitively say that this glob of pixels is actually a planet that may be habitable for humankind in 3079. Okay, so what I'm trying
Yeah,
to just get to you is that a lot of these people who people think know the answers, they themselves defer the knowledge of the fundamental fact off to some other field. They're like, well, I don't know. It's not my field.
yeah. I'm not going to disagree with you. A lot of people that are experts don't know what they're talking about. But if we can get people that actually do, like people who do know the fundamentals and basics, and there are people like that. Um,
Well, for example, there's
Anyway, it's great.
surveyors who come in and say they know the Earth's a globe, but they don't even know that they're overlaying their flat measurements onto an ellipsoid model. But go ahead and say your bye, so we can let you leave.
Yeah, well, yeah. Hopefully, I don't end up on a globe destroyed by
Yeah,
planet
you fail.
archaeological compilation.
I think you fail to realize, though, they're going to say the same thing that you do. They're going to say, we're all going to agree, right, that the sun is a star, the nearest star. They're going to begin from the same la la land you're talking about.
Yeah, but this is the problem, though. Like, flat earthers can just say, well,
They're
what
not
if
going to have
that's not true?
special
What if that's
info.
not true? What if that's not true? Then you can
Let
say
him
that
say his
indefinitely.
goodbyes already.
Like, there's a point
No,
where we
my
do
friend?
have some
son.
axioms that
No,
we have to agree
son,
with.
sir,
Do you hear me?
kid. Yeah, your cosmic ladder starts with the radius of
That's
Earth, and you
TJ.
guys don't have that yet. So you don't have a curved Earth. So we can't go on with the stories. They're just stories at that point. Flat Earth is measured flat. You just go out and do it.
What's that?
Flat Earth is measured flat.
Hey, you know what? You know what, Radwin? You just made me have an epiphany, bro. Follow my logic here. See if you understand this. So it's not simply that the Earth is a specific radius, it's that Venus is the same as the Earth. Remember? So basically all the harmoniousness in the cosmic model relies on two balls being approximately the same size. Yeah, it's finally making sense, bro. It's all about two balls. It's all about balls, bro.
It's all about two balls. One's a little tiny bit bigger than the other.
All right, so this is some kind of pseudo-Freudian Jocasta complex nonsense, bro. I finally get it.
Okay, well, thank you for the discourse, everyone. Yeah, goodbye.
All right, do it this time. Actually leave, otherwise someone else is going to trap you.
Yeah, better.
Peace. Take it easy.
What is with Australians and being fucking flat earthers? I genuinely don't get it.